Geiger, would you stand, Bill?
Yay!
Assistant Governor from Area 13. And I appreciate all the clubs showing up today for this very important event and message from our district governor. We'll start the meeting off with an introduction of our presidents from the various clubs. And I'd like Len Boucher to stand. Len, you want to come up? We're going to have a few of them do the opening ceremonies. Buddy Stevens from Hawkesbury. Pauline Gillespie from Olympia. Larry Hansen from Yale. And President-elect Betty Holt from West Olympia. We have two others that I'll introduce that are going to do other parts of the program today. Jim McGarva from Tumwater. And past President Jim Burton from Lacey. So I'm going to turn it over to Len from Gateway.
So if everybody can stand, I'm going to be doing the national anthem. I'll be doing the, I'll pay a fine already, right? Fellow Rotarians, will you please join me in the salute of our flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I knew the words.
Okay, buddy, you're up next.
I have the honor of leading you in the salute to the Canadian flag. So, fellow Rotarians. Oh, wait. Our home and native land, true nature's love, in all with glowing hearts we sing, we rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for
Pauline Gillespie. God bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Second verse, sing us out.
That was great. Larry, thought for the day?
Well, I'm not prepared with a thought of the day. So, and Bill said I had 15 minutes up here, so I don't know what. Didn't get 10 minutes? I've got something that I think is appropriate, and Corey will be showing it on the screens.
I'm here in a clinic in Accra, in Ghana, amongst the genius doctors, nurses, and health workers who are so transforming the lives of the people in this region. Very simple medications and applications, from vaccines to bed nets. Wherever I go and do my work, the Rotarians have been there before me. It is a very humbling thing to discover just exactly what putting service before yourself adds up to when you see it in practice on the field.
Cool.
When polio is finally eradicated, and you know it will be soon, you stand surely in the first chapter of that book. I admire the Rotary Club's interventions so much. They're well thought out and enacted. And so I thought nowhere better than right on the field to send you my very best and really offer thanks and gratitude to what you're all doing. From Bono in Accra, thanks again.
And Betty from the West Olympia Club with the four-way test.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. Please join me in the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First,
Is it the truth?
second,
Is it fair to all concerned?
third,
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
fourth.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
We don't believe in 5 on West Olympia, but I know some of you do 5.
Thank you, and you may all be seated. Okay. All right, we're just about ready here, and Bill McGregor is going to come up now and introduce Mo.
Go fighting 13s!
We're better than the 12s. Well, I have to say it. Today, it is my honor and privilege to welcome to our combined Area 13 and Area 14 Rotary meeting for our 2019 and 2020 District Governor, Maureen Fritz-Roberts, aka Mo. In addition to her years in Rotary, let's give her a round of applause. Thank you, Joseph, that was great. In addition to her years in Rotary, Mo has spent the last 3 years training with many Rotarian leaders to better understand the opportunities and resources available to all Rotarians, and she wants to share those experiences with us. She believes that anyone can do anything in Rotary, and sometimes you have to amend the rules to fit the situation. She believes there is no reason for any of us to hold back. Mo joined Rotary in 2002 and was on her club board within 8 months of joining. 2 years later, she became district membership chair. Normally, you would need to be a club president before you become a district chair, but someone took a chance on her. I think it was a great chance. Amended the rule and took a chance on her talents and her abilities, and the result was District 5020 was a world leader in membership. She knows from experience that you can do anything in Rotary. One example of you can do anything occurred when she heard about a visioning process in District 5020, but there was not a budget in the district to implement it. She flew to San Francisco, took the training, then used her air miles to bring in trainers from Oregon and Minnesota to get the District 5020 visioning off the ground. To quote her, "Sometimes you just have to make it happen." Thank you. Her life is a bit like that. When she found herself living 6 hours from the nearest university and managing the family insurance agency, Mo studied management and human resources at a distance, long before online training ever existed. Or when Mo and Dale found that they could not have children and the wait list for adoption was 5 years, they applied for hard-to-place children. I know what those hard-to-place children are like. And got 2 perfectly lovely children within a year of the application. Mo knows it's not your circumstances that determines your future, it is your reaction to those circumstances that determines your future. Mo has been a Rotarian at heart long before she officially joined Rotary in 2002. Her Rotarian experience since that time has included district membership chair, which I mentioned, district visioning chair, a Paul Harris Society, a major donor to the Rotary Foundation, and a level 5 benefactor. Fellow Rotarians and guests, please stand and join me in welcoming our district governor for 2019-2002, District Governor Mo.
I have something that's a little bit special before I start talking, and I just, every once in a while, when you come and get the pleasure of talking about what you do. And one of the things that as Rotarians you have the opportunity to do is to donate to the Rotary Foundation. And when you do that, you become part of the team that eradicates polio, you become a partner in creating peace, person supporting clean water in countries where water is worth more than gold. What you do when you donate to the foundation is measured in lives. You're seen as a person who believes infants, children, and mothers should have access to good medical resources, to microcredit, and to equal rights. I cannot even begin to talk about all the things that the Rotary Foundation is responsible for. Ask anyone who's been touched by the Rotary Foundation just what it is, and every single answer will be different. But ask anybody who's been touched by the Rotary Foundation just how important it is, and every answer will be the same, life-changing. And so today, I would ask that someone in the room today would come forward, and that's Michelle with it. Michelle, are you here? Yes. Now, Michelle, a Paul Harris Fellow, as you know, is awarded to any individual who contributes $1,000 to the Rotary Foundation. You can also acknowledge someone else to show your appreciation for the ways in which that person exemplifies the humanitarian and educational objectives of the Rotary Foundation. But the important thing is that you realize what you have done and what a difference you're making in the world. So I just wanted to let you know some of the people that you're standing in seed with today. The likes of Mother Teresa, Nelson Mandela, Indira Gandhi, Pope John Paul II. So we're really honored today to acknowledge you. And this is your first Paul Harris Fellow, and so I feel really privileged to have the opportunity to give this to you. Now, your president's in the room. That'd be you, Len.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah, you're a president. Len, would you come up here and get this? Do you want this? I like it. But I better just qualify that. Okay. Just don't poke me, buddy.
Yes, please.
Chicken.
I'm working on it.
Hey, only allotted 2 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, the newest Paul Harris Fellow, Michelle. I love doing that. And Len too, you're gonna have to start practicing. I just want to thank you all for being here today. I'm incredibly honored to be amongst you all, and I recognize past district governors out there in the crowd, and I just feel that we've introduced all the presidents, which is really very important to me. You notice those beautiful shirts they're wearing. We have a past district governor who's wearing a president's shirt and a past district governor pin, and that's Bill McCarthy. I'd just like to acknowledge Bill. Hi. And
And this is the second time that Bill's listened to me speak, and I think that that same tolerance belongs to Ken Balsley, because you're here again today. So thank you. And my mentor as district governor in this whole process is sitting right here in front of me, and thank God he's got his lovely wife, because she probably was more help as Pastor Governor. So thank you all for coming, fellow Rotarians, guests. I remember 4 years ago, Dale and I were on a holiday in California, and we had one of those heart-to-heart talks, you know, when you got a little bit of extra time and you don't know what to do with it. So we started talking about the things that are really important to us. And you know, there are the usual suspects, family, the office, but right up there in the top 5 is Rotary. Because we started talking about all the things that we've been able to do in our life, and it seemed like they all circled back around to being a Rotarian. And we looked at each other and we said, time's up. We have to do something to give back. And so that's what this year is about. It's my opportunity to try to give back a little bit of what I've received from Rotary. And I think that Rotary is a pretty amazing thing. It's a little 6-letter word, but it means you can do anything you want. There are no limitations in what you can do as a Rotarian. It's quite amazing. I remember back in 2016 when Hurricane Matthew struck Haiti. The devastation was phenomenal. People raced in with that immediate aid. And about the same time, I got a phone call from my brother-in-law, Marshall. He'd just been diagnosed with a really aggressive form of cancer. It's a hard time for him, hard time for my sister Debbie, hard time for their children. But that isn't why he was calling. He said, Mo, while I'm strong and able, I want to do something that matters. You're a Rotarian. How do I get to Haiti? And I honestly think that that's how your communities look at you. They say if they need something to get done, they're going to go find a Rotarian, because you are the game changers. You make differences and you create joy. And so I'd like to introduce you to Joy. Now, this is a woman that I met, and her real name isn't Joy, but I just call her that because she's the happiest person I have ever met. Let me tell you about Joy. Single mother, 2 children, lives in a 2-room shotgun shack. She has no running water, she has no electricity, and all she has for furniture is a bench and a box to store things in, and they got a pet. But they have to keep that dog tied up outside in their yard because they haven't got a fence. Now, how could I possibly call Joy the happiest person I've ever met? But when I came across Joy, it was in southern Ethiopia, a year after my Rotary Club and World Vision had done a collaboration for microcredit. Let's just leave Joy for a minute and go to that collaboration, because I think that's what RI President Mark Maloney meant with his theme, Rotary Connects the World. It's just about Rotarians connecting with each other and doing things together and making a difference. Because when Dale and I went on that first national immunization trip to put those little drops that save lives, and Anita's here, and she was there too, and we were changing the world in our eyes. It was so significant. But what happened is we saw how much need was there, and we were at the Tacoma 8 water project, and we thought, what a great opportunity to follow this water project with microcredit and let these women have income. So we got back to our club, and we just hammered this fundraising process, I tell you. We raised a lot of money, we did a lot of events. I sold every bottle of wine in my wine cellar to try to raise money, and we came up with $45,000. We were pretty proud of ourselves, but you need $90,000 to start a branch of microcredit in that area of Ethiopia. So I thought, what am I going to do? When we started talking about the people we had met, and there was this one guy that kept talking about, he was a Rotarian, but he kept talking about World Vision. So I gave him a call. I said, Kim, I got this problem. You're probably a fundraiser. Can you help me? And he said, let me think on it. I'll get back to you. Christmas Eve, Kim calls. He goes, Maureen, I tapped 3 friends. I got you $45,000. Okay, you heard that word, connect? If you ever connect with a Rotarian anywhere, keep their business card. You never ever know when you're going to need them. Because I thought Kim was a tire salesman. I didn't know he owned a Fortune 500 company. So I just want you to always remember to keep those connections. Anyway, back to Joy, the happiest person I've ever met in my life. So by the time I'd met Joy, it was a year after this project had come in, and when she saw that opportunity in her community, she thought, I'm not letting this slip by. But she had a problem, because in order to borrow that money, she needed 7 other people to be part of her group, because that's what it takes. One person borrows a loan, the other 7 guarantee it. And she had to go out and convince 7 other people to borrow that much money in a country where most lending is done by loan sharks and you can never pay it back. So, but she did it. She found 7 people, and she got to be the one that got the first loan. So she built a bakery in her backyard. Basically, it was a pile of bricks with a fire ring and a metal top on it. And on that, she baked the local bread in Jura and sold it in the marketplace. And she paid back her loan. And then the next person borrowed, and so forth. And when she got a chance to borrow the second time, she expanded her bakery. So by the time I met Joy, that 2-room house was painted. She had hired a local artisan to completely furnish it. Her 2 little girls were in school. She had running water. She had electricity. She had a television. And the whole place was fenced. But that isn't what brought her joy. What brought her joy was grabbing me and making me go meet all 7 other people that she had talked into borrowing that money, because they had all started really successful businesses and they all paid back their loans. And that made Joy the happiest person I've ever met. And so why am I telling you this story about Joy? Well, I think we're a lot like Joy. I think there are things that would bring other people joy, and we know those other people. I mean, I'm sure some of you have 7 friends. And I think we should go out and connect with those people and tell them what a difference could happen to them if they joined Rotary. So think about that. Think about those 7 friends. There's a saying that goes, if you want to have joy for an hour, take a nap. And if you want to have joy for a day, go fishing. And if you want to have joy for a year, win a lottery. And if you want to have joy for a lifetime, serve others. And I think that's exactly what we all do. And while we're serving them and feeling that joy ourselves, we also come across what I call trust. We just inevitably get that trust. And I had all these cute stories I was going to tell you about. You heard Bill say that our children were adopted, and I was going to talk about how these moms trusted Dale and I. And then I thought, you know what? I'm just dancing around an issue here, because we have a potential problem in Rotary. It's the same problem the Catholic Church has. It's the same problem the Boy Scouts have. It's the same problem any youth organization has. We have a duty of care, because we are involved with children at some level. It might be a child visiting your club, it might be a student of the month, it might be youth exchange. Whatever it is, we have some contact, and there is a level of expectation amongst the parents of those children and the people in our community that we will take the necessary steps to be aware of things before something terrible goes wrong. And I'm not talking about changing the statistics that are out there for different abuses. But what I am saying is we have the opportunity to take the training. It's available to us, so we could catch something before it went terribly wrong. And so I just want to thank you for taking the time and effort to get that training done, because you are making a difference, and you don't know it, but you're creating joy and a feeling of trust within those parents out there that count on us to do that. So joy shows up in different places. And I don't want you to think that joy is light or fluffy, because it's not. What you do is serious, and what you do is important. And joy just shows up in unexpected places. Like the time I was in Uganda, we were on a bus on a dusty road heading to an area with about 1 million displaced people at that time. We got off in front of a training center, went around to see what they were teaching. We walked to this one classroom. There was just a hush all over the room. It's a classroom of little girls, probably between the ages of 14 and 16. Each one of them was sitting in front of a treadle sewing machine. It was a tailoring class. But the thing that took my breath away was each one of those little girls had a child under the age of 2 sitting beside them. Those little girls had been kidnapped by Joseph Kony's army. Those little girls were the sex slaves of those soldiers. They weren't happy to see us. We were just another intrusion in their lives. And I thought, what do you do in a situation like this? I reached into my backpack and pulled out my Polaroid camera. Now, in North America, that's a pretty antiquated piece of equipment. But in areas of rural Africa, they don't have a photograph. You know, we all go with our cameras and we take a picture and we show it and then we put the camera back in our pocket, but we never leave anything. And so I convinced one of those little girls to let me take a picture of her with her baby. And you know how it works, right? You snap the photo and it develops as it comes out of the camera. Well, she's watching this. And her eyes are getting bigger and bigger, and pretty soon she's jumping up and down and she's screaming and yelling, and all the other little girls are coming to see what's going on, and they're all excited and they want their picture taken. And that's joy. And you did that. I mean, I feel a little guilty because I was there and I got to witness it. But you're responsible for that joy. Because the money that you donate to the Rotary Foundation paid for that training center. And it paid for that training class. And it paid for those treadle sewing machines that each of those little girls will take away with them to start a business. Now that's joy. And I thought, wonder what that kind of joy costs. Better yet, what would you pay for that kind of joy if you could create it? Now, I said earlier that joy is not light and fluffy, but you know, Starbucks has this new coffee that is. They call it a cloud macchiato. I don't know if you've ordered one yet, but it comes in a big cup like this, and the reason that it's all fluffy is because they put egg white in the foam and it just poofs up. So you get a coffee cup about this big, this much coffee, the rest is foamy, fluffy. Pretty sure one of those fluffy coffees set you back about $5. So here's the rub. Just think if we gave up 2 of those fluffy coffees a month, or whatever your beverage of choice is, and instead took that $10 and went online and had an automatic deduction from your bank account or your credit card. In a year, you'd be what Rotary calls a sustaining member. And you know what? That's enough money to buy a sewing machine. That's enough money to change a little girl's life. That's a pretty inexpensive way to make a huge amount of joy. And then I haven't even talked about the money that doesn't hurt. That you don't even feel it because you leave it in your will. Just imagine what a difference you could make by leaving a legacy in your will to Rotary. And you can even designate that money to have it come back to Rotary and be used for local grants. So take a look at those opportunities that are out there for you. Joy. Think of another part of joy. Think of the mothers of those little girls. Think how they must feel every time they see the word Rotary, knowing that you made that difference, that you gave their little girls an opportunity to have a future, and better yet, their grandchildren will be taken care of. But we know something those mothers don't know. We know that the price of that joy is only 2 coffees a month. That's pretty amazing. And, you know, there's lots of joy that happens. I got the joy yesterday of being awarded these lovely glasses. They're quite trendy. You'll all want a pair, I'm pretty sure. But they gave them to me because they wanted me to talk about international conventions coming up in June. And what a great opportunity. You're so close. It's almost right beside you. We should really plan to go. And look, there's Lays over there. I see it. They're everywhere. And the other joyful thing I want to talk about is district conference. It's coming up on the Queen's birthday weekend in May, so May 15th and 16th. And I'd like you to put it on your calendar. In fact, on your table, you have these little Post-it notes. And on those Post-it notes, it gives the dates and the information. Now, I have to be honest here. When I bought these Post-it notes online, it was great big screen picture. I loved it. And by the time I got to the checkout, found out what they cost, they shrunk to this size. So that's just a reality check. That's budget. But normally what we do with district conference and training is, what we've been doing the last few years, is putting the 2 of them together. So on Friday you have a day of training, Saturday you have a day of conference. But this year we're going to switch it up a little bit. So at meal times is going to be the conference part of it, and then you'll break out into training sessions or special interest sessions. So meal is conference, training is in between. And we've got some great speakers coming. One of them is world famous author Dr. Jordan Peterson. Now Dale and I flew to Honolulu to hear him speak. And there were people, okay, get this, who paid as much as $500 US, that's $1,000 Canadian, just to hear Jordan speak. Just because they would get their picture taken with him. So I've got a deal for you. Our conference isn't even going to be $500. And if you don't want to stay at the luncheon that Dr. Peters is at, go out on the street and scalp your tickets, because I've already got people asking me if they can get some. So, you know, you can pay for it just by doing that. But whatever you do, I have to really stress, I'm only here for 1 year. That's all the district governor has. But your clubs are going to thrive forever and ever. And this training could make the difference of you having great committee chairs and enthusiastic people because they're inspired by a speaker, and there's going to be professional development as well, so they can take this knowledge back and use it in the workplace. So I ask you, take that sticky note, get your magnifying glass out, put those dates in your phone, and join us. It's just too important to miss. And I talked earlier about the fact that back in California, when Dale and I were having this discussion about how important Rotary is to us, that we both made a commitment. And so he's been traveling with me everywhere I go. By the end of next week, we'll have visited 46 clubs. And he describes his job as my Batman. I'm pretty sure he means the military, British military version of Batman, not the DC Comics. And I was thinking about that, comics Batman. Because he doesn't have any superpowers. I mean, he's a lot like us. I mean, we don't wear capes or drive Batmobiles, but we're just ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And so I started thinking about that. What are your superpowers? Is your superpower the fact that you're the kind of person that's going to get behind your club president? Can you imagine? Each of the presidents in this room already think that they've got the best club in the world. But imagine how they would feel if they had superpowered club members who were supporting them. I mean, that would just make everybody line up in your club to be president in the future, and then everybody'd have a chance to have the best job in Rotary. Or maybe your superpower is that you color outside the lines. So when your club runs into a problem or a unique situation, you're the person that could come up with an idea to help solve it. Or maybe your superpower is you're a grounded individual. You know when you're renovating a house and you can pretty much rip down everything, but you can't touch that load-bearing wall? Maybe your superpower is knowing what is the load-bearing wall in your club. But whatever your superpower is, I ask you to use it for good, and you'll find that joy I'm talking about. So I want you to share the joy by inviting somebody to join Rotary. I'd like you to embrace the joy by getting fully involved, put up your hand, volunteer in your club, and enhance the joy by making the Rotary Foundation your charity of choice. Now, I can only speak for myself when I say that the more I put into Rotary, the more I get back. And I have to tell you, I always seem to be getting back more than I ever give. But since this is kind of true confessions moment up here, I'm going to tell you something. I would never, ever, ever have gone to Ethiopia if I hadn't become a Rotarian. It wasn't on my bucket list. But then I would have missed meeting the happiest person in the world. I wouldn't have met Joy. And I wouldn't have met those two little girls that followed me all around that village. They were about this high, they were skipping along, jumping behind me, giggling. And the Rotarian with me said, "Do you know what they're saying?" Of course I didn't. He said, "One of them's asking the other why you're that strange pale color." The answer? I don't think she's fully cooked. So I ask you, are you fully cooked in Rotary? Have you done everything that you want to do as a Rotarian? Or have you got some little secret that you've hidden away because you thought, oh, I can't volunteer for that committee, so-and-so has always done it, they won't want me, or gee, I don't think our club's ready for that. I'd like you to pull that secret out this year. I'd like you to find one thing. Go out and do one thing that you've always wanted to do. Make this the year that you do it. Because if you do, I guarantee you, you'll find that joy that I'm talking about. Thank you.
We'd like to open it up for a minute or two of questions, if anybody has anything they'd like to ask while we have the honor of having our district governor here.
Oh, that's perfect. I say we run.
What's the one thing that has surprised you the most about being district governor?
I don't know if I should admit this, because there might be somebody in the room that really wants to do it.
Repeat the question.
The question was, what's the one thing that has surprised me about being district governor? It shouldn't have surprised me, because I told you my mentor's in the room, and Tom warned me about this, but I always know more than everybody else, right? So, what happened was, he said, this is a management job. And of course, I looked at all the past district governors, and they just come through and they do a speech, and it's lots of fun, and we, people stand up for them. And I thought it would be my opportunity to go around and meet Rotarians and maybe connect people to help them with projects. I'm a manager. I've spent most of my year on risk assessment. I've spent most of my year trying to line up committees to make sure that we don't have 4,700 Rotarians counting on a district committee of one. Mostly it has been training and helping get that set up. It is strictly a management job, which is fine. That's what I do as a profession. And so I think that the biggest gift was Tom probably really recognizing that and telling me that, because it lodged in the back of my mind, and that is what I've spent most of my time doing, is lining that up. So my hope is that next year when the district governor steps up, that there'll be one more thing done that they don't have to worry about, and that we'll keep that chain going. The other thing that we've had to learn is to collaborate. I don't know what it is in every club, but it used to be in Rotary that if you were the Rotary International President, you picked the theme for the year, you picked what projects you wanted to do, and then in 2005 Rotary changed, and they implemented a strategic plan. And then what had to happen is, if you were the incoming RI President, you had to go to the Strategic Planning Committee and ask for permission to do some of the things you wanted to do, and you either got a yes or you got a no. And I think that's one of the things that we're starting to implement in the district, is we're making a commitment to each other in the governor line that we will start something, but we won't just the next person rip that house of cards down. We're trying to build a strong foundation. So I guess that's the surprise that I didn't expect. No questions from you.
I want to know how you become district governor.
Oh, great. Yes, I promised Tom how to talk about this. But of course, he's just catching me because I got up here, I got starstruck, I completely forgot. But anybody who's been a club president has the opportunity to take this on. And I think absolutely, bar none, the best job in Rotary is club president, and this is the second best. Because after you've been club president, you just know how much fun it is to have that role of leadership and to work with all those Rotarians and find out how much support you get. But as district governor, it just takes it to another level in that you get to look at each of those clubs and think about when you were a club president and what would make that club stronger, because that's the only reason the district exists, is to make the club stronger. So I really, really encourage you, if you would like to have the adventure of your lifetime, to give this a shot. The other thing I'm going to say, and I'll get to your question in a minute, Tom. The other thing that I'm going to say is that we've changed things. Tom started this in his year. He asked you to start meeting as groups, because there are going to be 92 clubs in this district shortly. That is, do you know how many weeks that would take? I just told you by the end of next week I'll have visited 46 clubs. I couldn't have done that if you hadn't joined together. At President-elect training, the presidents will tell you that I said, have you got a friend in the room? Because I really appreciate it if you find another friend and we'd have joint meetings, and that would drop the district down to 45, 46 club meetings. And the reason I ask for that, it's not for me. I can take the time off. I've got the time. I could visit every single club and every single board meeting. But if we want to have a Rotarian under the age of 50 again in our district, or ever, we need to start thinking about that. And we talk about the new face of Rotary. Lots of people are upset that we haven't had an international president named yet that's female. I think there's probably just as many Rotarians in our district who would like to see a district governor under the age of 50. So I think it allows us an opportunity to let that happen, and so that's really what we're working towards. I would love you to talk to your club president. That one little secret you're keeping, if that is that you would like to be district governor, you know, obviously they'll pick anybody. Tom's here. No, seriously, I can pick on him because he did such a fabulous job. But and I wouldn't rest too easy there if I was Ken and Bill right now, because you never know what I'll say. But The truth of the matter is that you have an opportunity to talk to your club and have them put your name forward for this, and we need those nominations to come in. You should give a resume with it, and you should send it off to, actually Tom is responsible for that year. That's one of the ongoing jobs that he has as an immediate past district governor, is to help find that person. And you know, it is time well spent. I think the interviews are October 27th. Okay, and when do you need nominations in by?
About 2 weeks before that.
Okay, so 2 weeks prior to that, so you do the math, that sounds like the 13th to me, lucky day to get your application in. So I would ask you to seriously give that thought, and you've got some past district governors in the room, they're going to tell you the same thing I'm saying. I've only been doing it for 2 months, but it is absolutely an incredible opportunity. So that was 2 questions, I think we're done.
Would President Jim McGarver please come from Tumwater?
I'll clap for you, Jim.
I feel like I should change my name to Joy. That was a joke. On behalf of all the clubs represented, we'd like to present you with a little gift. It's a donation for Polio Plus in your name. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Jim.
I would just add that all the clubs combined that are here today donated $600. So thank you for that. Now Jim Burton, past president from the Lacey